You go to police stations, government office buildings, hospitals. John Allen is here in the audience, and he probably has accumulated more hours of collecting psilocybe mushrooms in urban environments than anybody in this planet. And it's amazing. When you don't trek out into the wilderness to find psilocybes, if you're in Washington and Oregon, you look for mountains of wood chips being used for landscaping, which typically is funded by the U.S. government. So the U.S. government is actively involved in promoting habitats growing psilocybe mushrooms all the time. And this also is a problem because in the state of Washington, where I live, near Olympia, the biggest psilocybe cyanescens patch I've ever seen is around the Thurston County Courthouse and jail. And I think it's there by no mistake, because they prosecuted people for collecting these mushrooms, and they bring them into the courthouse system. They will concentrate all these individuals carrying spore mass into the courthouse, and as a result spread spores all around that environment. So I think that prosecuting people for psilocybe mushrooms is antithetical to the very biology and the way that these mushrooms work. By the mere act of trying to prosecute individuals, you cultivate them. And I think... So, Christian, can I have 5 more minutes, right? 5 more minutes, right? Okay. Okay, this is a photograph of Christian 2 years ago, and this is the third species that I published with Dr. Gartz, who's here in the audience. And this is where the native habitat for Psilocybe azurescens is. It's literally at the junction of the Columbia River, which is a mammoth river, one of the largest rivers in North America, as it joins into the Pacific Ocean. At the cusp of the Columbia River meeting the Pacific Ocean, there's these sand dunes and spits of land that go out into the ocean. At that very junction, where there's massive amounts of wind and tremendous devastation from the environment, this mushroom grows in profusion, almost to the exclusion of other species. And it is known as Psilocybe azurescens. And it's called azurescens because the mushrooms, you blow on them, they turn blue. They're so potent. They have fibrils on the stem that just emanate this glowing azure color. And then the mushrooms are also notably quite large. And this mushroom here, I think, dried down to about 5 grams. So for you QB cultivators out there, you know what that means. And it also has a very strong hygrophonous cap and has rhizomorphs at the base of the stem. Now, in my next book, all of you growing Psilocybe cubensis, Psilocybe azurescens, Psilocybe cyanescens, this is stuff I can't talk about in the United States, you can cut the base of the stem here from the and get bundles of rhizomorphs, sandwich it in cardboard, and all these stem butts regrow as spawn. You don't have to buy spawn or spores or anything from anybody else. Once you get the mushrooms, and try this, it's fantastically easy. You just cut the base of the stem with the rhizomorphs here, wet corrugated cardboard, separate it, put the stem butts, lay it into the cardboard, laminate it over it, spray it, several times a week, and all the stem butts regrow into spawn, and you end up with a huge amount of mycelium then that you can relaunch out into the environment. It's a coup d'etat technique that I think will revolutionize. And we all have too much cardboard around. Psilocybe azurescens is one of the most beautiful mushrooms. This is one of my better photographs of it. And it's a mushroom that I feel a strong bond with. It is no mushroom to play with. It is extremely potent. And as all of these entheogens, we all need to respect them, and sometimes you can only respect them by doing too much, and then you really know what you're dealing with. So, but it's a very, very potent species, far more potent than other ones. And it's very beautiful. We call it the flying saucer mushroom. It tends to be umbonate. It has an even cap margin, not undulating. And it's very easy to grow, like cyanescens, but about twice the kick, twice the potency. And they can be, as you can see, relatively large, and they bruise so dark blue they can become indigo black. They're that high in psilocin. Psilocybin dephosphorylates into psilocin, and when you adjust the mushrooms, you're getting off on psilocin, not psilocybin. So psilocin, presence of the bluing reaction is an indicator, probably of a co-degradation pathway of a compound yet unknown, which has a blue pigment. But it's a direct correlation for how potent the mushrooms once were. And then another mushroom that we have in the Northwest is very common in the ancient old growth and along trails is Psilocybe folliculosa. The sister species, Psilocybe sylvatica. Psilocybe folliculosa can grow right beside Galeron autumnalis, also a deadly poisonous species. And then the last species that I've published to date, I named after Dr. Andrew Weil, who's a naturopathic physician in the United States, some well-known. And this mushroom grows at these interface environments. Many of these do, between grasslands and shrubs. And this is now named and published as Psilocybe weilii, after Andrew Weil. And it grows in northern Georgia, which is the center of conservatism in North America. So right in the middle of the most conservative Baptist community, this mushroom comes up. I think it's like, it knows, right? And so I was very thankful when I saw this came out last week. This is an article by Norderloos, which re-examined the type collections of some of the major psilocybin active species. And in this mycological journal, he used the photographs in my most recent book, Psilocybin Mushrooms of the World, as icon photographs representative of the species concept. So I'm very thankful and very delighted that the taxonomy that I have proposed in my book has held the test of time, and now it's been selected out by other mycologists as true examples of the epitome of what the species concept should look like. And so I just want to close. This is our homepage for people who haven't surfed into it. And this came to me when I was driving down the highway and smoked a joint and listening to the Grateful Dead Terrapin Station, one of my favorite Grateful Dead songs. And it came to me, now, what is this about mushroom mycelium? Because when lightning strikes, mushrooms come up. The mycelium is rhizomorphic. It resembles neurons. And now there has been a report of a meteorite that came from Mars that was found in the Arctics, where mushroom-like mycelial structures have actually been identified. And I believe that this simple replication, this linear replication of cells, is a successful model that is being repeated throughout the universe. Terence McKenna was one of the first people to propose that mushrooms may have come from outer space. And the more that I studied this subject, I think he's right. I think that these forms are self-replicating. Nature builds upon successful models, and I think that these mushrooms, and even psilocybin mushrooms, may indeed be in the future common throughout the universe. Thank you very much.
Hello? We have no more. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Paul. This was a very nice journey into the neural system of Gaia. And hopefully it will fructify in your brains somewhere. Before we have a few minutes for questions, I have to make a little correction. You miscredited me for organizing this conference with Claudia. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just a guest. And this was totally done by Claudia, Hans, and Arno. So I just wanted you to know that. And then I gave you wrong information about tonight because we have not the room. So this artistic slideshow will be on Sunday. And then I have a very important announcement. And maybe some of you already know that the surprise guest